Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It is Wednesday. Welcome to Hump Day. Everyone out there, we appreciate you for joining us this evening for today's episode. Today we'll be covering a movie named Kindred. But before we get too deep into that, my name is Keelan, and as always, I'm here with my brother Nick. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey man, happy Wednesday. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Interested to talk about what's going on in this here
Oh boy.
situation we got. But yeah, I'm doing well as a person for sure.
Good.
Indeed. So we're here to cover a movie named Kindred. Excuse me. Kindred was released in 2020. It is listed in the horror drama category. Something I noted about Kindred is it is not rated. A lot of movies, typically have ratings. We watched this, or at least I know it's available on Hulu. On Hulu, there is no rating for Kindred, and on Google, there is no rating for Kindred. So, yeah, not often I find or that I note or I notice right off the bat that a movie does not have a rating, but that jumped out from the beginning. Kindred is directed by Joseph Marcantonio. It is a screenplay written by Joseph Marcantonio and Joseph McCaughlin. McColgan. Sorry about that. Produced by Jack Lowden, Dominic Norris. It had a box office income of $8,921. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen a box office income that low.
Yeah. I would assume because it came out in 2020 and that was the year that nobody was allowed to go anywhere. So
Yeah, it came out in November, which was really right as people started understanding that things were shutting down and we weren't going back out. So yeah, I could see this getting put out, them not really understanding the temperature, what's going on, and that's what happened. Wow. Great read on that, Nick. Great read.
not
So
that it
yeah,
would have saved it anyways, but
yeah,
I'm
I
just
don't think it would have helped. I don't
yeah.
think it would have helped as far as well, I don't know. It might have gotten people out there because around that time there were a few other films that kind of were in this vein. So it could have gotten more people out to go and see it to at least pay for it. But the reviews would have been a different conversation.
Hmm.
So this movie is starring Tamara Lawrence, who will be starring in a movie called The Silent Sisters. That's actually how I kind of excuse me, The Silent Twins. But that's kind of how I found this movie, if I'm being honest. I was looking up The Silent Twins, which, if you don't know about that, that's a crazy story. Just I wouldn't even talk about it right now because I'd end up not talking about this movie. Um, but that's a very interesting story, and she's going to be one of the people who plays in the movie. And from there, I was wondering what else she was in, and I saw this, and I remember seeing the trailer for this on Hulu, and immediately I was like, okay, well, let me check that out. Checked out the trailer, and here we are. We covered it. So uh, it is starring again the movie Kindred, Tamara Lawrence, Edward Holcroft, Fiona Shaw, Jack Lowden, Chloe Peary, and Anton Lesser. There are a few other characters, but those are pretty much the main characters that you're going to see consistently throughout this movie. Which I don't know. I think we've said in the past we kind of like when there's really small cast because it's not so much to worry about or think about. But I don't know if that helped or hurt this time around. With that being said, Nick, what are your first impressions of the movie?
Hmm. Uh, yeah. I didn't enjoy this one very much. I thought it was kind of long and boring, and there's a lot of things where you have to just take everybody's word for it that's oops, pardon me. That's how a story would work. It's just I don't know. I watched an hour and a half of something that would just never happen, and um, the heavy-handed allegories that it was referencing, and this sort of social commentary of womanhood and motherhood was again, we have these really heavy-handed ideas that are just sort of being ham-fisted into a story with very little metaphor. and it becomes very tiresome, I think. And so I think that that's part of the reason that I found this laborious, but also, the stretch of believability kind of pushed me as an audience member, because this whole thing really revolves around an idea that somebody can't scale a 8-foot stone wall that was right there the entire time. So, uh, yeah, those are my first impressions.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, as far as scaling the wall,
She could have done
uh,
it. She could have done it.
I saw
She
multiple
could have
ways she
done
could have possibly
it. Yeah.
gotten away from there. Later on, we see some other times. I don't know. She was definitely by herself. We know that. But yeah. As far as the movie, it was gripping. It was thrilling for sure.
No, no, no. Hold
No,
on.
wait,
That's
wait.
my
Hear
other
me. Just I
commentary.
got you. I got you. I
Why
hear
is
you.
this a horror?
Oh, it's horrible.
Okay,
But
there you go.
under the guise of not just thought concept, like it's kind of a horrible movie, but under the guise of thought concept. When you look at this movie from the concept of, I'm just gonna have, I'm throwing this out there from the very beginning of the review. Um, this movie touches very heavily into black women in the medical industry. Just that's really all I could pull from it was no matter what situation she was in, every time she went to get help, she went to someone who worked in medical practice and nobody helped ever. Um, that's this entire movie from the very beginning. And then even when you consider that her boyfriend or the father of her child worked as a health care worker for animals, I mean, he didn't help much either because he didn't get her out of there in time. But that's literally in my beginning statements. I that's where the movie is. It took a while, honestly. Through most of the movie, I was definitely like, okay, I'm kind of interested. I'm here with you, but what are we talking about? Like, okay, like, oh, dang, that's what we doing. That's creepy. That's some old CIA torture stuff right there. Um, so yeah, I guess we can just jump in and there's definitely no need for any spoiler warnings or anything. Hence the reason I've already kind of fled back and forth a little. 2 years in, guys. Yeah, it didn't get much traction clearly, but you've had time to see this just like we have. We just now got to it, and here we are. Um, so yeah, I can't say I was not interested through a good portion of this movie. The very beginning of this movie, I was probably more confused than other parts in the middle. At a certain point, I gathered that she was being held captive. And the more they tried to convince us that wasn't the case, it just became more so evident that she was a prisoner. Um,
I thought that was obvious from the
from the
get.
very beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times it's like, oh, that's not what's going on. It's like, okay, that's not what's going on. Oh, no, that's definitely what's going on. What are you talking about?
Man, I have so many problems here. And like, okay, I get it. This is supposed to be, you're the point about black women in the medical field. That's a fine enough point to make, but also then it's like, okay, so are you're saying that the black woman's experience is akin to white people kidnapping her and taking her babies?
Whoa, not white people, the medical industry.
Well, but the
However,
white
I
people are
understand that that's
stealing
what,
for her
yeah, I
baby.
understand that that's what's on screen. And if
Yeah.
we're being honest, that's typically the connotation. If people are having this discussion, that's really where they're going to take it most times.
Hey,
Um,
Corey's here. Hey, Corey.
what's going on, Corey?
Is this the one that made
Yes, this
less
is the
than?
one that made
Yes.
less than 9,000,
Yeah.
Corey. a
Welcome.
thousand
Welcome.
percent. Welcome,
Uh,
welcome to it. Yeah, that alone lets you
what does
know
she
how
do
this is
for a
going to
living?
go. She is a girlfriend.
Oh, cool. Okay. She's a
They
girlfriend
never
for a
no.
living.
Oh, wait, well, no. That's not true. She worked in
Strong
the
female.
stables. She
She
worked in the
worked at the
stables.
stables
Yeah,
of
she did
what?
work in the stables. The horse
Whose
stables.
stables? Whose
His
stables?
stables. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
His
own those
family's
stables.
stables?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure the
god. So
family
he
owns those
was so
stables.
he
Hmm.
so it's even worse than I imagined. So she was working on his plantation, huh?
Damn, knew that's where you were going with that. That's
I
why I
mean,
choked on my water.
God, dude.
As soon as you said it's even worse than that, and I had already, we already know that this is all about her being in prison and it looking like some old slave business. We all get that. It looks like a huge plantation.
Dude,
So
at
the
the end,
moment you were
towards the
going
end of the
there,
movie, she's literally wearing like a color purple gown.
yeah,
And then the guy
1,000%.
walks in with a billowy white shirt like he's a slave owner. And it's
Mhm.
like,
It was really, it got real creepy. It got real nasty and creepy.
it's
Um,
so weird.
but yeah. So at the very beginning, I mean, we keep getting these flashes and these instances through this entire movie. Charlotte, who is our main character, she keeps waking up out of these flash dreams. She's seeing crows and magpie and all kind of different blackbirds that have bad connotation when it comes to the spirit world. Which makes me think, as soon as I bring up the spirit world right now, which I expected some more mysterious. Uh, uh, Once again, that's what I need to say now. This is another movie. I forget the other movie off the top of my head, but this is the second movie that I can remember recently where it seems like they're going to go really deep into the occult or something like that, and it's not even in the movie at all. Like,
Oh, yeah.
not even a little bit. That would have probably made this a little more interesting of a movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would it's pitched as a horror movie. I thought there were going to be some horror elements to it, and it turns out the horror elements are really just like the
They're kind
the
of socially horrible.
but it's like a fetishization of the dynamic between white people and black people, and I feel like it's almost to a pathological level. Like this person, whoever wrote this, pleasures themselves to this idea. Like that's what it feels like to me.
If I'm also honest, that the fact that this is written by two men, I didn't see that coming. I expected this to be a story written by a woman.
Well, I
I
mean, it
mean, it
might,
makes more
maybe, yeah,
sense.
right,
But at the
exactly.
same time, then I think if it were written by a woman, maybe we would have got a little more detail and explanation.
There would have been a lot more about the birthing, and there would have been a lot more,
You know what I mean?
birthing stuff. I mean, this movie's a mess. I mean, this is
It's
just
it's
like
it's all over the place.
it's all over the place, and
So
its commentary, its ideas about her as not wanting to be a mother, and just like this very ham-fisted metaphor. It's not even a metaphor because it's just literally what's happening. So
mm,
it's like this commentary that motherhood is this prison that women get trapped in, and the white man is the warden of the prison because it's because of the white man that we're having babies. Like,
and it's funny because you say that, and I'm just sitting here like, there's not one black man in this entire movie. I don't
no,
know what
there
to say
isn't.
here.
No, no, there isn't.
There's nothing to bounce off
She
that
didn't
off
have a
of.
brother. She didn't have a cousin that
She
maybe
was.
would have been
It was
nothing.
brung to her
Nobody.
attention on multiple occasions that she had nobody,
Right. Very
and not
convenient
not
for the
even in
story.
discussion was there anyone except her and her mother even in discussion.
Very convenient for the story because you have to believe that this person literally can't escape. And there's nobody else in this town, apparently. There's the Grand Maester Pycelle, or whatever the hell that dude's name is from Game of Thrones. The doctor.
Oh,
It's
Dr.
not
Richard
Pycelle.
Pycelle.
It's not Pycelle. What was the Cersei's Grand Maester's name?
I think that was his name.
Maybe it was. I don't
Hmm.
know.
I
I
think so.
always get the Maesters mixed up. But is that not him? He looked just like him. I don't think it's
Uh,
him,
I
but
don't think that's him, but damn, you're right. He does look like him.
and he had the
Let
same
me
voice too.
look now. I'm about to look back. So we're going back to the cast right now, and the guy who plays Dr. Richards is named Anton Lesser. Possible. Let's start that up. Oh no, that's him. That's him.
Oh, it is him.
That's him.
Nice.
That's him. No, like
Yeah.
the second picture is literally him. The second picture in his filmography
Mm.
is him with his arm around Cersei as he's ushering her back in after the long walk.
Okay, that is him. So that
That's
makes
him.
sense. He's an evil doctor again.
Oh, that's
Of
crazy.
course,
That's a good
says
catch.
yeah. Okay, so it made a little bit more in the. Okay, so it's about 58K in a global. Uh,
Very nice.
he hasn't seen it, but it starts to sound like a ripoff of Sign of Vermilion anime.
Hmm.
Haven't heard of that, but I'll check it out with some ham-fisted wokeness. Yeah, it's Rosemary's Baby with racial dynamics.
It's Rosemary's Baby for sure.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing I don't want it to make it seem like this isn't 1,000% original story. It has some original connotations added into it. which are mostly again socially charged. But this story's been told a few times. This story was
Mm.
slightly told in Jordan Peele's Get Out in a different way.
Yeah.
But that's what I think they wanted to, and that's what I was saying about there were other
Oh, they were
films
riding on that
similar,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the racial tones, undertones come from. And honestly,
Which
I
is
can
so
say that
ironic
that might
because
have been
it's from England.
right. And that's what I'm
What?
thinking. They're playing on a lot of different things that socially were going on around that time, and that we would all be able to recall on, and be like, "Oh shit,
But
that's
it's
what they're talking
socially
about."
an
And all that
American,
shit.
but like it's socially America's
Mhm.
racial stuff, but it's being told through an English character and world.
I
Why are
mean,
the British like? How is it as impactful that like the racial dynamics are the same as they would be in America?
well, they're.
They,
I would think they're not.
no, they're not. I mean, for what it's worth, England did abolish slavery in their country, just not I think anywhere else they were in.
I didn't even
Um,
know that was possible, but I'm just gonna say that.
right. But like it's just weird to me when you have this like British movie that's making racial sort of critiques, but through the lens of American race relations.
Mhm,
Like, have your
mhm.
own identity.
I mean, it was confusing for me. I actually expected Charlotte's character to be an American that was dating someone from another country, and then everything went the way it went. Um,
Well,
and why
that's
does he
uncomfortable
release
to think
in
about.
Russia?
Maybe there's some hanky panky going on between transactions, and
Hmm, that
we've
is it.
always talked about streaming services and money laundering, so maybe I don't want to dig any further in
Wow. Yep.
that.
That's an episode.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, let's kind of jump into the storyline that is on paper at least.
She was there
Um,
for 9 months.
she was there for more than 9 months.
Yeah, 9 months
Yeah,
and a couple of weeks at
a couple
least.
weeks. Yeah, exactly. Um, and for the better part, the rest of the world, I think she's dead, but we'll kind of get into that. And that's really what, if I'm being honest,
By a
that's where I
woman with
think
a limp and an effeminate man.
that's capable of murdering his own father.
Yeah, as a boy,
Even worse.
dragging a drunk man out into a field
Hey,
isn't
listen,
exactly,
what do they say about
bludgeoning him
children who
to.
kill animals? Now, what do they say about
Uh,
children who kill humans?
this movie sucks, man. I don't know.
Oh, listen. No, I'm not even going. I was going like my rating ain't gonna be higher than, but I ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
So we start with the whole, crows, like I said, magpie, and all of that. We hear that Ben already he doesn't like Thomas. Thomas isn't his brother in his eyes. Um, but he doesn't talk about his mother. But it's very clear that he wants to get far away from her. And what was weird about that to me is we have basically that discussion, and then we immediately jump to them pulling into the gates at the manor. So I thought we were basically talking about not going to lunch. I literally thought that was the discussion they were having, that they were going
Mm.
to change their mind and not go to lunch, and then we're pulling up to lunch.
Well, she convinces him that they have to go because they have to tell their mother that they're going to
Oh,
Australia
right. You're right.
because they have to go to Australia for no fucking reason because they couldn't even make up an excuse that somebody had a work-related offer in
Because they
Australia.
just wanted to leave.
But you couldn't have just written in, "Hey, I got a job offer in Australia. We've been wanting to find
To
somewhere
leave.
new."
Yeah. And
It wasn't even.
she wasn't
There
gonna
was
let
no
money be the
reason.
reason they leave. Clearly, she owns a town.
Who? The mom?
The mom.
Well, clearly she's from like one of those inbred, British aristocracy families that owns a dilapidated manor. But
No,
um,
very. It definitely
yeah,
looked abandoned until you realize, like, oh, that's his mom's house.
yeah. Which again, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you never know. Well, oh, no, not going there. It makes some sense in my head, just in the ways that I'd rather not discuss.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, so I didn't really understand until later. I guess this one scene is supposed to make the discussion about her mom make sense when Charlotte decides to go over to the piano and open the lid, but then she decides not to play. Uh, I always found that I found excuse me, not I always. I found that
That
interesting.
was a long time ago.
Right.
That was
And
another life ago. I don't play anymore.
I don't play anymore. But it's just interesting because you find out her mother had severe postpartum was one of her diagnoses. That means you technically never really knew your mom. How would she teach you as a piano teacher if she has severe postpartum? She could not raise or be around you. That was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Make it make sense.
It doesn't. It only makes sense because that has to serve the ending. Because like that's how they tie everything together. I mean, they come up with this conclusion. Basically, they construct stories now around a conclusion where it's like instead of seeing where the story takes you or allowing the story to sort of grow organically, they have an idea of how it needs to be. She needs to be she needs to be single within within 20 minutes. She needs to be pregnant and unwanting of the child.
I'm sorry, wait,
And
pause.
yes,
You said within when?
what,
Wait, how
20
she has to be
minutes?
single and what?
Within
Did
20
you
minutes?
did you look at the timestamp?
No, was it like 5 minutes?
2018.
Oh, okay.
I literally
That's
put it on there.
exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah, I literally put it
2018.
on a sheet. 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Perfect timing. You
Yeah,
called that.
because the vet that specializes in horses decided to put his face right behind a horse's hoof
Okay.
and
So
get
I'm
kicked
glad
in
you
the
say that.
face.
Let's venture into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I personally have an issue. I have a few issues, right?
Yeah.
Well, number one, before we get to the horse thing with Ben, the violation of trust by Dr. Richards is the first time she should have skated. She should have left Ben. In that moment, she should have left Ben. The violation by Dr. Richards when Ben comes home after Dr. Richards tells her she's pregnant, even though
Oh
ain't no
yeah,
test or
yeah, yeah.
nothing being had.
Yeah.
He comes home with balloon and flowers and a bear. She should have left then.
Yeah, that's
Red
all
flag
just
number
very
one.
unbelievable to me too, where it's like,
What, the violation of trust between the doctor and a patient?
well, that's definitely unbelievable. I mean, like that's the thing, right? You have to believe that all of these people are in on a grand conspiracy to steal this black woman's baby. Like
No, no,
that
no, no.
is
I don't think they were in to steal the baby.
the
Oh wait, I'm sorry.
doctor's in
I'll
on
let you
it, the
finish. I'm
friend
gonna
is
let you
in on
finish.
it, both of the mom and the brother are in on it. So there's 4 people in on this conspiracy to take this woman's baby.
You know what? Yeah, in full thought, you're right. I can't say I don't think they're in on it because they're
They
definitely.
have
I
to
mean, no,
be.
no, not in on. They're in on keeping her captive. I was
Yeah.
thinking I don't think they're in on stealing the baby, but then that wouldn't make sense. Why would you just be a part of? You're definitely a part of the baby stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
weren't gonna let her just like leave after she had the baby.
She can't take
Yeah.
that blue blood, baby.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
See,
he's an
that's how I'm gonna
heir
say what I'm
now.
gonna say. I'm gonna find my jokes in here, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna zing them.
Right. Right.
But yeah. I mean, again, that was a violation of trust right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you see how excited Ben is. I think his mother killed Ben. So this is what I think happened. When she said, "You're not gonna steal my flesh and blood and take it to the other side of the world," I was like, "Somebody's gonna die." That's the first thing I said. Somebody's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
She says that Ben goes, like you said. I thought the same thing you thought. So he's an animal doctor who puts himself in danger. Nah, son. Also, I would assume that a horse that just got irritated in a way where it kicked someone who it's already comfortable with, and it's probably its only physician that it's ever
Mm-hmm.
had, and to the point of which he's gonna kill him, like kicked him in his face.
Yeah.
That animal is gonna still be so wild when anyone tries to enter that he's probably gonna end up trampling the body
Yes.
before
Yeah.
anybody gets to it.
Right.
So I'm thinking Jane, who I had already assumed was in on it, and then we find out later is for sure.
No. You're
I
saying
think
that she killed.
she took something and went upside his head. Because watch this. Jane said, "I'm gonna go get your tea. If you're going to get tea, how did you get back so fast?"
So you're saying that she's Kaiser Sose and that she has this limp that she's just nursing because she wants to be the killer. So she
That's
took
it.
him out with the cane. I like that
And
better.
Thomas is
Actually.
Lars.
Yeah, I like that better. That would have been great if she just stopped limping after a while and was like, no, you know.
Just knocked off the limb. It was a facade.
Right.
But yeah, that's actually what I think. And then this is when immediately I feel Jane was in on it. Soon as Charlotte's trying to pull herself together and call for some type of assistance, Jane's like, "No, no, no, there's no time. We all know you don't move a body. You pull that horse out of that stable and you call for help."
Mm.
And it's a severe head injury. Talking about apply pressure to the wound.
Oh
Uh
yeah, yeah. And then they're
huh.
dragging him. And he was
Right.
dead. He
They
was
were
dead.
killing him,
Yeah.
or she was killing. That was her job to make sure he died.
That would have been better. I mean, like, I think that's probably, maybe that's what they were trying to
Right.
insinuate, but there's just a lot of so this whole movie surrounds around this idea that it might be ambiguous that these people are kidnapping her, or that
Yeah.
she's actually
Mhm.
just crazy and this
I
is
would have
all,
liked some explanation.
yeah, and I think they kind of did that as a cop out, where they didn't have to be solid on anything, where like, but the whole movie also does go out of its way to make sure that these people are very clearly kidnapping her. So for it to be like still a question in the movie of like, whoa, are they really kidnapping her? Did they really, like, it's,
Uh,
you've already answered your
what are your
question, movie.
options?
Yeah.
Well, here's the question: is what are the options? They kidnapped her, or they kidnapped her? She keeps asking to leave. You destroyed all of her shit. You've taken all of her belongings and brung them to her. And rule number one: if you're kidnapping someone, take their what?
Phone. Yeah.
Shoes. No,
Shoes.
shoes. Rule number
I
one is you
told
take their
you, when
shoes.
she first goes up to the gate and it's locked with that chain, she's standing next to, I would say, a 7 foot tall stone wall. She could,
Yes, she
and
could have
this
got
was
over.
early in the pregnancy. She wasn't that
Did,
pregnant yet.
did you
She
also
could have
notice the
climbed.
the lake right next to the home?
Yeah, she could
Why didn't
swim
she
if
at
she
least go
wanted
look
to.
for a boat or try to swim? Right, yeah. She was
Well,
there
come
from
on,
three
man.
weeks.
Yeah, you
Three
can't.
weeks and 9 days, apparently, or excuse me, let's call it 3 weeks and about 4 days. She woke up after a few days. How you wake up after a few days? And you just collapsed. And who changed her clothes? That was a question. That and the
You got
medical
to
industry
assume the
thinks,
brother is doing
oh,
some
he's
things to
definitely a
her while
creeper.
she's sleeping,
He's
apparently.
definitely. I don't think she was pregnant. I think it's his baby.
God. What the fuck? Corey
Yep, like
says misery
Misery. Break their
breakdown
ankles
cables.
just like in
You
Misery.
know, that might have actually been better if they had just been overtly that like
Just
that, but they tried to do this weird, like,
we're trying to help you.
subversive predatoriness, like, oh, we're just here to help, we're just here to, I'm like, this
And
gaslighting shit, which is,
right.
like, back to your point about this commentary on black women and medicine, but it's, you have to do such a cognitive dissonance stretch for it to be like, oh, that makes sense that this woman couldn't just scale that wall, couldn't find anyone around these people that would actually take her to the police, not a police person in sight.
I'm gonna say what police? Ain't
Yeah, the
no
police
police.
that would have probably put her in jail because she was a crazy black woman. I get it.
Yeah.
Can't have
Hey,
a police
we're,
officer in this.
well,
Um,
remember at one point she's told that her medical records are so bad, and yeah, never mind. Sorry, I'm gonna pause.
yeah, but
Go ahead.
prior she was also told that she didn't have any medical records. So
Yeah, because that's why that registered as I was saying that. And I was like, wait, they said they didn't have her medical records, so never mind. Let me
right.
back up. Well, actually, no. Maybe what they're saying, because we're thinking of the timeline. She was told she didn't have medical records, and by
And
the
then
end
the
of the
evil
movie,
doctor gave
so I'm
her.
thinking, yeah, they were fudging records, and yeah, um,
I like, all in service of what? To have the child? Seriously? Like,
I
these
mean,
people
yeah.
are going
But there's a
that
lot of
far.
yeah, but there's so many things that just weren't explained to how far they were actually going, right?
Yeah.
So the weird taxidermy that just kept popping up throughout the movie, all of that symbol, like what was that? The entire movie, there was just different times where we just get weird half taxidermies with whatever hanging out. I don't know, but that happened a few times. Um, my bad. I'm reading. One of my questions was, did the mom kill Ben? Yes, I believe she had her son killed to keep the baby there because if it was up to Ben, they were out. They probably were gone within a week.
Like,
I really
none
think they
of
were gone
these,
within a week.
like, Ben is a bitch, and he should have taken his girlfriend out of there. First of all, they should have been married, but she didn't want to be married. She
And
didn't
they
want to
found
have
a
a
fourth
kid. She
person.
didn't want to be married, but she wants to go to Australia with this man.
I don't think she
So
wanted Ben.
Right, me neither. Like,
That's
she
gotta go.
seriously didn't want any commitment outside of
Or
traveling 3,000 miles away with him, but
right,
didn't want
or
to
she
have a
wanted
family
Ben.
with him.
She wanted Ben, but she wanted nothing else that came with Ben. This sounds like a familiar story, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so yeah, apparently Sign of Vermilion was similar. She was on medication, so you don't know if she's crazy or not.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're trying to do the unreliable narrator thing. But yeah, you have to be a very good writer to do that. And I think that so many people
Which
got
I
this
am.
idea.
They didn't send me a check.
Right, I know. They could have asked you. But like so many people want to do this Fight Club thing where it's like at the end you realize, oh my God, like
Can I
they
can I
were
make a
crazy the
PSA?
whole time.
Can I make a PSA here?
Yes,
Where's
go
which,
for it.
which camera
Go
am I
for
in? This one?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
For anyone out there who thinks they're gonna write the next Fight Club, stop.
You're about 20
Get some
years
help.
too late.
Get some help.
Yeah,
When they wrote Fight Club, I guarantee you they didn't know they were writing Fight Club.
yeah.
There's no way you write that on
What's
purpose
that
that way.
dude's name? Chuck Palahniuk or
Know
something
that.
like that.
I
Palahniuk.
believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I just wanted to make sure you guys hear that from somebody at some point in your life. Stop.
Yeah. Get
It's
help.
like trying to rewrite Terminator or The Matrix, or it's not
Yeah.
you.
It's
Shot
lightning
the
in the
messenger.
bottle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lightning in the bottle. Like, bro, it's not something that you just pull out of your ass.
Right.
But thanks for trying.
I mean, M. Night Shyamalan tried to recreate Sixth Sense over and over and over again.
Yeah, I
We'll
might
see what
say, I was
happens.
just about to say he can't recreate his own movies. What are we talking about?
Right. Right. Yeah. But okay, so we got off topic there. But
Oh yeah.
the
So here we are.
unreliable narrator thing, I basically agree. Yeah, this movie is definitely trying to suggest that she might be crazy, especially at the end, which we'll talk about. But it doesn't really give me one way or another, and it actually gives you more evidence to suggest that she's not crazy; she's being drugged.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Drugged, tortured, and Lord knows what else. Starting with this. After she passes out at the hospital, she wakes up. Thomas is watching over her. That doesn't freak her out as much as it should, in my opinion. Um, and then he goes, "Here, drink this."
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if I'm already scared and paranoid that you're gonna do something to me, you tell me to drink this. I'm asking, what is this? In fact, I'm not drinking this. I'd rather dehydrate.
And you mean to tell me that some non-related person can just sit in somebody's hospital room while they're sleeping?
Yeah, you
Like
notice nobody
kick
ever asks any questions. They
family out.
Oh yeah, they assumed every time what it was that was on, like, they would always assume he was with her in some way, and she would say no, and they would still allow him into the doctor's office. Huh?
See, this is the problem, right? So it's using the 1880s mentality in 2022, where it's like, oh, this black woman can't speak for herself because she's a black woman, so the white man needs to explain what's going on with her.
That's right.
This is fucking 2022, man. What the fuck? Like,
But
why
you're not
would
in
this
America.
woman not get attention from the nurse? The nurse brings the stupid doctor in. She should have brought the police in.
She herself, right? I'm gonna say she could have made that call. She didn't have to go get the doctor, but she needed what? Say it again.
A man? A white
No,
man?
no, no. A white man.
Yeah.
Because that also got me. Like, I knew she was going to get Dr. Richards, but it kind of blew me a little bit that she went to get Dr. Richards because she wasn't wearing a nurse's outfit.
Right. She's just some lab technician or something.
Right. Why are you sitting there with a lab tech? I didn't know you went and had doctor's appointments with lab techs. So
I honestly, like, so you have to assume that woman is also in on it too.
Yep. 1,000%.
So there is a nurse or a lab tech, a doctor.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna give that lady her credit and say she's a doctor who still has to answer to the white doctor.
I don't understand.
It's not America. It's not America. I don't understand.
No, but that's even more different. Like, if you go into a doctor's place and especially if it's a woman and she says, "This person with me is kidnapping me," do you know how fast the police would be right there?
I believe in any country that's not going to fly.
It would never
I don't care
fly.
where you are.
It would never fly.
I can't think of many places that's going to fly.
Like, they're so hypersensitive about domestic violence and things like that when it comes to people who are under duress, And usually when people are victims of domestic abuse, they go into the hospital and they don't want to talk about what's going on.
Mhm.
Doctors are trained to pick up on those fucking cues.
Yep, 1,000%. It's literally a part of their training, and they have to go through consistent training because things change, and people
Yeah,
go
man.
about it in different ways, and then that happens. So
It's
sorry.
just so unbelievable. Yeah.
Um, the jacket, the jacket. When she goes down, first they move lunch from 5 p.m. to 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. to 1 p.m. Let me changing those schedules for me. Mm-mm. Show evil. So,
Hmm.
also, I just want to say, I also watched an African, what's they call it, a Nollywood movie recently that followed along this very similar path, except let's replace the baby with a business, and other than that, it's the same movie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, uh, but yeah, Charlotte begins to realize that she's not having full thoughts. She's not s- remembering days at a time. Even when they had the whole funeral at the house, which was also like off-putting for her. Like, wait, we burying him right here? Like, okay, so I can't even leave the grounds for the funeral? Damn. Um, Even in that regard, as they go to bury her, I don't think anything outside of like, her getting up and then doing that. I think she lost parts of that day as well, it seemed like. Oh wait, no. What am I talking about? It seemed like yes, no, for sure, because she went into the room when Thomas was playing "Dream a Little Dream," and she kind of wakes up just sitting there by herself the next morning. Like she just sat there with sitting straight up with a cup of water in her hand until the next day. Right.
Yeah, I guess the assumption is that she could very well be having
They were
psychosis
drugging her.
episodes.
They
I mean,
were
so like,
drugging.
okay, yeah, right. That's what the movie is also saying, but the movie is also saying that she has a history of mental illness, or with
Mhm.
her mother being, schizophrenic, and she could possibly be schizophrenic too. I,
Yeah, like it's like they're holding. I think that was also like one of those subliminal messages, like the kind of like the sins of the father type of a thing. Those
yeah,
that
it's
came
just like,
before you, you'll always be held under their whatever their trespasses were.
yeah, it's they want the best of both worlds. They want to be able to say both things at once without ever having to commit to either one, because they know that, like, they're in, yeah, they just wrote themselves in a way that it wasn't going to be satisfying either way, so they left it kind of open ended.
Hmm.
And okay, I guess,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
got
big,
I
big
got
idea.
porn bots here that I gotta clean up.
Get out of here, bodies.
What's messed up is that sometimes they won't even let me block them. I have to put them on a timeout, like,
That's
so they'll be
terrible.
back.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
Turn
Shutter
me.
Island got it right, but they tied it off at the end so
Mm,
you could know. Yeah, sounds like
yep,
they mixed up. Yeah,
yep,
yep.
exactly. It's a
Racism or
mix of
the
everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They just didn't want to commit to either one. And I do. Yeah, you're right. Shutter Island did do that right. It kind of danced that line of, oh, okay, that makes sense. Where this is like, they didn't even give you enough to make a definitive statement, because maybe it was aspirin that she found at the bottom of the teacup. Maybe it was just, you know
Maybe it was
a piece of
prenatal or not
food that,
prenatal. Oh yeah, but no, were those be prenatals? No, no, maybe they were just vitamins.
maybe it was a vitamin, maybe it was, yeah, you just
Now,
don't
of
know.
course, you have to ask, then why not give them to her directly? Why not tell her
Right.
what's in her
Of course, yeah. Well, because
that
the
part.
movie wants to have this ambiguity, but they also want the white people to be evil.
Right.
So
Well, and then you
you
even
can't
have the
have
moment.
you can't have both.
Right, and you even have a little later where you have Thomas like they told me to put it in there and da 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 da. But then it's like they told me it wasn't supposed to do this, but then it's almost like nobody knows, and it's like, oh, don't tell Margaret. Oh, I'm taking you to Dr. Richards. He'll know what to do. But then we never know what he did. We still never we still don't know what, because she, well, what did you do? You did what? What did you give me, Thomas? What did you give me? Nothing. He didn't say it. He never said it.
Right. Right.
And if it would have, I just would have been hot. I would have been pissed if he had to turn around and said some stupid shit like, it was just melatonin, bruh. Melatonin, none of this.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, like, it might be that she's, maybe got prescribed pills, and then antipsychotics some
Why
way
not
that were
tell her?
putting her out into like a coma. I
Still,
don't
why
know,
not
man.
tell her?
Fuck if I know, man. We're really
Oh yeah, we're helping the storyline right now.
yeah,
We're
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 spinning our wheels for free here.
we're letting the beat build a little bit here.
Yeah, got you.
Um, but yeah, so again, we're talking about Charlotte and her dizzy spells. Oh, um, Charlotte and her dizzy spells, I realized also started with Ben. In fact, they didn't just start in the house. Basically, that whole dream and her getting up and going downstairs was the beginning of that. She was already going through that from the moment she got pregnant, basically.
Yeah, to see we're gonna talk ourselves in a circle. That would be
No,
evident that she is crazy.
because
So
that right,
yeah,
that's what I was getting
I'm
at. I'm like, so that's I
not
think them
gonna.
trying to
Yeah.
promote that whole like her mother, the prenatal psychosis and
They want
severe
the
postpartum.
Inception ending. They want the Inception ending where you're like, did the top fall or did it not fall?
I must say
And
I didn't like the ending of Inception, so
right, but that's what they're trying to do here is they're trying to leave it as this ambiguous thing, which is just
ugh,
anyways. Let's get on to it because
gotta
this
do the
lady
work.
is in this house for 9 months, gestating a human. Um,
Yes, yes, there is a parasite inside of her that is taking all of her nutrition and it is just waiting to burst out and be with its lovely Margaret, apparently.
it's also
Um,
very super convenient that she doesn't have a job because I would think that at least somebody would try
Somebody would be
calling for
checking
her.
on her. But when you
Yeah,
work for the family stables and the only person that's your friend is also your boss and also on the payroll.
that's just such a contrivance. Like,
Mhm.
how would she? Anyways, yeah. Who's got a tapeworm?
I was talking about he's talking about the when I said the thing that's inside of her sucking all of her nutrients.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, they did even have a conversation about that where
Hmm.
they were talking to each other about this thing living inside of them, stealing their life essence away. And I'm
Right.
like,
Which
good
I
lord,
remember
man.
she says that to Jane. Charlotte says that to Jane, and then
Yeah,
later on, Margaret saying that
says
to
it to
her, and
Charlotte. Yeah,
immediately I'm like, nah, that's because Jane told her what she said, and now she's trying to be on that level of, oh, those kind of things happen to us mothers, and it's like, nah, you just an evil ass, contrived ass lady. Get out of here. You're
yeah,
nasty. Because I
yeah.
don't believe that that's how she felt, and then the whole like, then I dedicated my life to them, and
It's the Oedipal mother thing. It's the old mythological, like the story
mm,
of Oedipus and the mother just like
mm,
devouring her children to death because she wants to keep them forever.
right.
And I mean, Oedipus. It was better in Oedipus. So there you go, like or Hamlet or any other
Probably was
movie
best
or
in Hamlet.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
No, not best, but done well.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, days and days, months and months, weeks and weeks, everything's passed. What Jane comes to visit, Thomas runs her off. Uh, the whole Thomas waking up in bed, her waking up with Thomas in her bed, and she again, why are you still here?
mm,
Just because he was dressed, I guess nothing happened, huh?
yeah. I
Got
guess.
it.
I don't even understand why the friend picked her up. I mean, like, so the friend was in on it, obviously, because
Yeah,
she gets picked up by the friend and then she takes her back into the crazy people's house. I don't
right.
know why she even waited for the friend. I would have been booking it to
I
the
would just been
next
out. I'd
town.
been high. What do you call that? Hitchhiking her.
Hitchhiking? Fuck
Yeah,
hitchhiking. I'll walk.
just keep walking.
I don't want anybody picking me up. Anybody within a 30-mile
Can't
radius
get
of this
mad at that
place.
either. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I'm
Yeah, I don't
out.
trust none of y'all. And
No.
especially look, that was what I meant. I forgot. Waking up with dude in her bed, and then as soon as he's like, "Oh, we're prepping the nursery. You want to get some paint," and just kind of eases her. Okay, I guess we can do that. What?
See,
Scary movie rule number one.
I thought she was trying to finesse him for a little while,
That
but
was a little later. This was a little before
yeah,
she started trying
okay.
to finesse him, but she did eventually start trying to finesse him, which I thought was gross. And
Mm,
she started trying to finesse him around the time they were playing the piano together.
right,
And
right.
yeah, they lock her in, and then she still escapes, but she doesn't. The fact that they just kept bringing her mother up and the whole mental health thing with her mom and just kept bringing that up and bringing that up, I think they kept bringing that up so that when they threw it at her later, it was like this thing that was already irritating her to the point where she wouldn't have been able to control her reaction to it.
I
So
mean,
now
and
you look like
also
more of a crazy person.
the absolute baboonery of claiming that her mother's psychosis was
It's just
because of,
passed down.
well, no, but not even just passed down, but she had, what was it called, postnatal
Um,
psychosis,
perinatal psychosis and severe
perinatal psychosis.
postpartum. Yeah,
So because she had a child, she went psychotic.
yeah. It's a
Cool
real
story, bro.
it's a real psychosis diagnosis. But I don't know
Yeah,
how often it happens, and I don't know how often it
exactly,
gets to that level of
exactly. I
severity.
guarantee you, it's one of those things that they documented like 3 cases of ever, and somebody opened up a psychology 101 book and was like,
Maybe
"Oh,
the perinatal part, but I do know
well, the perinatal
postpartum.
psychosis. I know
Yeah,
postpartum happens, but
but no,
perinatal
no. But I'm
psychosis
thinking
sounds
the
very
two
rare."
connected is what I think that's what and I'm there with you. Like I think you put the two together. Like I've never even heard of perinatal psychosis. Postpartum and severe postpartum are even two totally different things apparently.
Right?
So going from postpartum to severe postpartum and then adding this perinatal psychosis thing, it's like so y'all just created a ball of she could never do it, like her body wasn't capable. And the
No,
way
no, no,
that
no,
was
no,
explained
no,
to me
no.
was apparently
Motherhood did that to her.
well, but yeah, you're right. But the way that's
Right.
explained is motherhood did that because her body wasn't capable of dealing with the amount of hormones that come from being pregnant, and it confused me a little, and that's when I honestly thought to myself about the direction of that side of this movie. It's like shit, maybe we're not even the right people to talk about that side because I can't even wrap my head around it fully.
Well, I mean, apparently the writers aren't either, because it's two
Yeah,
dudes
there
talking
you go.
about, like perinatal psychosis and
Which is when I
women's,
realized it was
like,
two guys. It just made it even crazier. Like, yeah, you guys are over here in the same boat as me. How are you? Give me more detail. I don't even really get it.
I
Like, I
mean,
don't get the whole diagnosis
pander
part.
harder, Jesus, like, you know what I mean?
Because for real, like, and I think that's even it. Because we're the kind where at least we would want to understand it if you do a good job of trying to explain it. But in this
Or
light,
just have like we were talking about with organic storytelling. If the story calls for something that can
gotta put it
address
where it's
stuff
going.
like that, then totally cool, whatever. But if you're just trying to construct a story around a social issue,
Hmm.
like it's so transparent that it becomes a chore to watch.
Yeah, like if this had come out in 2021, and it came out in the end of 2020, so it could have already been on the vein of um that overturniture, or I don't know if that's the right word, but
Oh, it was
that
under
change of that.
it was under the
Yeah.
paranoia of that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm
Mhm.
thinking, I'm like, I think that was already in the discussions, and this could
Oh
definitely
yeah,
be
they
a
were
part of.
talking about that back in 2016. So
Okay. Oh wow.
yeah.
Damn. I missed the boat somewhere on that one there because I didn't start hearing about it that early.
Mhm.
Um. But yeah. So we have to say, because we pointed out, we see it in so many movies. There's always some undertone socially of, hey, this is where I stand today. Damn it, if you don't just give me some entertainment.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, exactly. Just shut up and tell me a story. Like that's all I care about, man. Like, and make it an interesting story. Like this was, you know what we should do at some point, and it's not to say that we're excellent storytellers, because I don't think we have very much experience, but it might be a fun exercise to take one of these really bad movies and see if we can workshop it to make the story more interesting.
I'm telling you, you
Um,
notice I always point out which ones, in my opinion, have better skeletons than others.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Because you might have been able to do something semi interesting with this, but it would have had to taken a much more supernatural turn. Because at this point, all it is
For two
the,
guys to write it, yeah.
yeah, and at the for what it is it's like it's the like you said, it's the social horror, it's the
Hmm.
social commentary horror of this, concept of women's places in society, and then black women's places in
Hmm.
society, their relation to medicine, being mothers, and how that's a prison. um, you know
I mean, there were a few times that my jaw dropped, or how do they say? I clutched my pearls. I was like, "Yo, that didn't just happen." Yeah. Like that's what we doing out here. That all right, 2020. All right, there. I did that a few times, so that's why I'm like, I agree. Like there are elements to this movie that really reel you in and could definitely take you in some directions if it were more solid in the storytelling aspect.
That,
um,
like this is where it suffers
or
from,
they
and
just had better.
we've talked about this many times when these movies try to be too social, they
Mm-hmm,
always tend to choose too many things to talk about.
hmm.
And they always want to have like not just this angle, but that angle and this angle. And then you just feel like you're in this soup of, undercooked thoughts.
Right.
And
It's funny. It
yeah.
makes me think of someone who has never done public speaking, but then wants to give you a lesson.
Yeah. A lecture
Or
at
yeah,
that.
lecture. Like it's like
Yeah.
you might have the information, but do you know how to get it out to people? Like, do you know how to convey it in the language that others understand?
No, certainly not.
Mm.
I don't know how we would be able to salvage this movie, but maybe we'll think about doing a workshop for it to see if we can.
I
Um,
my first I can already tell you my first call to action would be to put some women in the room.
yeah, I don't know if that would do any better. I think that they would just have a really long labor scene and she might have died at childbirth or something like that. And then it would have been about how women always have to give up their lives for this baby and
Oh
blah, 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 blah.
shit. Honestly, I was just thinking for more detail and understanding behind what they were trying to say she was going through. But yeah, that
I
too.
mean, I can definitely get the formula down for what they're trying to do.
Hmm.
It's all very quite simple, but I think that's probably why it's not always good.
Too good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So we don't have much left. I mean, again, the movie is not too complex to understand, but some of the thoughts and the things they're trying to get you to understand have you like going in circles at times. Excuse me. And so yeah, the guy that came
She gives birth.
before she gets birth. There's a few things that just kind of were like, all right, just you just gonna leave that hanging? All right, cool. The guy came, he throws a fit, he leaves. Oh, how did he get in? And they were all afraid. And it's like, so what were they afraid of him getting in? Like, what are they protecting in the house? Were they hiding her, keeping her away? What is it about this baby? Um, what was it about Ben? Because clearly there was something a little different about Ben.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Did
Seeming
they ever explain what
no,
that dude was? Okay.
no, none of it.
Okay,
All of these
cool.
things, that's what I'm saying. These are the things I'm mentioning that they never explain. They just wished them away like they had a genie or something. Again, the taxidermy thing, the jacket, the whole, she comes downstairs in that jacket from Ben's closet. The mom tells her to take it off. Thomas takes it and brings her back the sweater. Make it make sense. What was that jacket about?
It's the controllingness of the mother not wanting to see her son's clothing on a woman that she doesn't like, and a black woman at that. You know.
Damn.
I mean, like, I know I'm being really glib right now, but this is what the movie is telling me, not,
No, no, yeah.
like
I got everything you just said sounds accurate from what I witnessed as well. It's just, huh? Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe the jacket's his dad's or something, but no, what you just said actually is direct
Psycho
to what
Mom.
they gave
Yeah,
us. Yeah, it's direct to
right,
what they gave us. You don't have to find or add anything to it like the dad.
right,
Because apparently fathers don't really exist unless we're killing them in this movie.
right. Yeah, that's
And there's
true.
two dead dads in this movie. Let's be clear, guys. Let's
Two of
remember
them.
that there's
Yeah,
two dead dads in this
three.
movie.
There's three.
Oh, there's three, but we only know
There's
how two
Ben's
died.
dad, Thomas's dad, and Ben himself.
Oh wait, no, we do know how Ben's dad died, right? Didn't he have like a heart attack
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, he got sick or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we do know. Wow, you're right. There's three dead dads. Damn. All right,
Hmm.
Margaret. See, that's what this movie should have been called, Margaret. Why was it called Kindred
That
as
should have
well?
been it. Yeah, yeah.
Like, there was no. I don't understand why this was called Kindred. Kindred is another reason I expected to have some mystical, magical type elements or otherworldly elements. Kindred is like, kindred. It makes you think of kindred spirits and things of that nature. And
Oh,
I
and
was
I
thinking
mean, like, and
some hoodoo or voodoo.
the tie into the Raven thing is
What was the tie into
absolute.
that?
The only reason she dreamt of ravens is so that she could hallucinate them and get into a car accident. That is it.
Fuck out of
I,
here.
I mean,
I can't argue with you.
there's
No.
no other symbolism there.
What the hell? Yeah, you're right. But
Yeah.
did she hallucinate him? Because Margaret saw the one.
And it did hit the windshield and cause like blood splatter. Again, it's doing that thing. It is a social
It is his
commentary.
debut.
Yeah, it
Yes, it
is a
is some
debut
social
thing.
moment.
Yeah.
Correct. It is his debut, but well, let's finish reading the comment.
Oh, sorry.
It's the director's debut, but its extreme social commentary tilt had nothing to do with trying to make entertainment or art, but it was his audition looking for woke streaming service content.
It
More
it may be
extreme,
that. It may be
yeah, the
that.
more extreme woke, the better. You're right, and I'm sure he got a nice hefty check for it. Um, no, that Corey, that's a pretty accurate and
Probably.
detailed thought towards how this went down.
They do say when you go to prison, you have to beat somebody up your first day, right? So maybe this is making your mark at the cafeteria.
When you get to the gate, like, all
Yeah.
right, before I get to the pearl list, let me make sure everybody know who I is.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, I mean, hey, this movie again, with Corey saying that it is his debut, and I did notice that nothing else was popping up, but I didn't consider it. I was thinking just I couldn't find anything. But yeah, I'm guessing that does make it his debut.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like an audition tape,
I'm
for
I'm I'm gonna say then he should have taken this to Sundance if that's how we're gonna have to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it probably did
He,
do
he
small
took it to
festivals.
Disney. Should have took it to Sundance.
Well, Disney is loving this type of stuff now.
True.
It's all about that ESG stuff, man.
As long as they could put it under a different name that doesn't have that castle on top of it or those ears.
Oh, right, right. Yeah. Can't tarnish the mouse, that's for sure.
Man, just know
Uh,
there's a lot of 20th century Disney nowadays. People don't even realize it. And
mm,
you know what? If I'm being honest, I'm not mad because from a business stance, it's a good move.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
Megacorp is finally here.
yeah. What? Nah, I want to remember the name of in the movie Idiocracy what they had called
Oh, shoot.
the TV. It was the TV network or something. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah,
Mm,
basically they're that now.
pretty much,
So
yeah.
yeah, he wants to. Thomas keeps saying he wants to help. I don't see how Thomas is going to help. At first, I thought he was going to kill Margaret. I thought that's why he had told his story,
Oh, right, right.
kind of saying, "Hey, I'll kill Margaret if that's what you want."
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know. Um,
Yeah,
but he
he's
also
definitely
in that
trying to
moment,
steal. He's trying to. I mean, like he's trying to.
I think he
Yeah,
wants everything. I think he
yeah.
wants the
He wants to
baby, the
take it
house,
all.
everything.
Right.
I think we're gonna get a 30-minute short film of him killing Margaret when the son turns like 8.
Mm. Oh, Corey says they did a small French festival. No wonder. Those damn frogs.
Uh,
It's always the
yeah, he's
frogs.
definitely playing the game. Thanks for that, Corey. Thank you
Yeah.
for. Yeah, he's definitely playing the game with that move right there, because that's not even. If you went from there straight to Hulu, that means somebody found this and was like, "This fits what we're looking for."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's
Because
a
only
lot
one
of.
festival, I don't think, would be enough to get. You know,
I think there's a lot of people thirsty out there for original ideas and stuff like that. And I think that if you
fair
tick
enough.
certain boxes, you'll have these companies just throw money at you to go
Mhm.
do something because they're like, well, look, we want to have this representation, so let's just start throwing money at these people so that they can make stuff so that we can look good. Um, but like it's also like it's kind of like giving somebody only half the deck to play with because you're just kind of throwing money at them and they may not be the best person to tell that story, or the story may not be the best thing for your brand. But if it checks the boxes, then who cares, I
Right.
guess, right?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I stand by that. I don't think I'm the audience for this one.
Oh, I certainly am not either. But I would wonder who is.
Women.
Maybe.
I'm not sure which demographic of women or which belief system of women, but I do believe women is more. They're more targeted for this one. But again, and I will say, I don't think it's a terrible movie. Um, but if we're gonna call it horror, it's kind of horrible.
Yeah.
It's some
It's
elements
not
to it.
horror.
It's not horror.
That's a
It's not
huge
horror.
misnomer.
Thriller, I'll run with, but it's not
Thriller
horror.
is of, I feel, being a bit generous. I would put it steadfast in the drama category, but as
Okay.
far as thriller is concerned, like the thrillerness is
Zone.
very subtle. The thriller.
It's just like you're gonna say the thriller's gone.
Yeah. The thrill is gone.
Um,
No, it's but it is very subtle. Like, yeah.
yeah,
I would
no.
say that that movie Windfall was much more of a thriller than this.
You win, Paul?
We saw it. We reviewed it. So you had to have seen it.
I had to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to.
The Jason Segel movie where he squats at that rich house and they come they
Oh,
show
okay.
up.
Yeah.
I would think that that
That was
had more suspense, more thriller to it.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure, it did.
And
Damn,
that
you're
was
right.
only 3 people in the whole
Yeah,
cast.
in the whole movie, and they
Yeah.
did very well. It was like a not a one room, but like almost like a
Basically,
steady shot
yeah.
cam through most of the movie. It was pretty
Mhm.
interesting. And then really interesting angles. That movie's now clipping through my head now because you brought it up. But so there was a point in this movie where she called Margaret sick after they locked her into the little room. Like now she just, and I like how every time they wanted to lock her up in a different way, her accommodations became even more and more meager. Like
Mm.
by the end of it all, she's just sitting on a cot in a half painted room with a furnace that she could definitely kill herself on
Mm.
or harm herself on. Maybe I'll say it that way.
Right.
Some critics are saying, or Corey says, some of the critics are saying spell of grim, queasy feeling,
Suffering the
suffering the
miserables.
miserables, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
instead of like horror, thriller, that type of stuff. But yeah. Oh, but for this movie in particular, yeah, I read through the reviews too, and you know, obviously, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 70%.
Mhm.
Audience score is much lower than that, which is to be expected. But even on IMDb, um, you know, I don't know, man. We went through a really like rough
Rough
uh,
patch. Yeah.
rough patch of cinema and stuff, and I think it probably happened between 2017 and 2021.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we're out of it, but I don't know if we are. It might just get worse. It might just get
No,
worse.
I think because we are in a different state, people are able to now experience different things, have experienced different things. People, creatives have had some time to sit around. We will have more interesting art out there, but interesting isn't necessarily what sells anymore. Social commentary sells, and like you said a minute ago, if you check certain boxes, 8 times out of 10, you're going to end up in that category. And when you said that, I had to really consider. I didn't consider which boxes this movie checks, but it does check some pretty consistent boxes for the kind of movies we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, there's a trend for sure. Again, like, you know, we've reviewed quite a few things this year alone, and I know I always plug it now because it's been my favorite movie of this year and all time. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just rewatched it again. It's
Great movie.
fucking amazing.
Mhm.
And it just tells a good story. It tells a good story. I wasn't thinking about the sexuality of this character or the, you know, the politics of that character. I was just having fun with a great story. And I think, you know, like when you do that, then people can extrapolate meaning from it however they feel fit. Um, but when you're trying to force the meaning into people's heads, that's when you just fail miserably.
Issues come. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you leave it as just a story, you can see it in one angle, I'll see it in another angle, and then we talk about it. We have this like weird, you know, conflict of ideas, and that's interesting.
Hmm.
But when you're trying to be so heavy-handed with it, there's no mistaking. You're not allowed to have
Yeah.
any mistakes about what the ideas are.
Now we're just comparing. Did you get the message too? Did you get the message?
Right?
That's what
Yes,
this is. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what this is.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. That's actually how they detract from the story. That's really how we end up coming to these conclusions where it's like, I see what you were trying to do, and I see all of the points you were trying to hit. This is where you screwed up.
Mhm.
Like
Because you
you
were
had me.
trying to do that. I mean, instead of trying to tell a really good story,
Mhm.
instead of having somebody in their head being like, man, I've got this really good story and I've been working on it for years and years and I've just been thinking about it and thinking about it. And it's
Mhm.
been my passion, you know, like this is where I think, you know, we might be seeing a lack of passion in people's dedication to I don't know, to the process or whatever.
No,
That
for
sounds
sure.
pretentious, but
But no,
yeah,
it does. But at the same time, it's an observation that's, in my opinion, accurate. When you go through certain processes, you start to understand why you have to go through them, right? Why is it that even dramatic movies still have those same guidelines as superhero movies? You know, it's
yeah,
always somebody is terrible, and then they have the, or for instance, the moment where we're supposed to feel sorry for Margaret for getting her ass beat on a regular basis and getting her hip shattered. I mean, yeah, I feel bad that that happened to her, but I would have felt worse if she wasn't currently fucking holding somebody captive.
right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You've spent an hour and 20 minutes telling me that this lady is psycho, but then you gave us 30 seconds of nuance to her
And,
character.
and then you tell us that only to follow around and tell us that Thomas killed his father, then tell us that Margaret is selling the cottage and that it wasn't taken by the bank. When she's confronted about that, she basically makes her son seem like this total asshat who had no understanding of how to keep himself above water. It's like you tell us that you try to tell us she's not a terrible person, and then we start seeing her do some of the most terrible things that she's done in this entire movie.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's wanting your cake and eating it too. It's wanting to have the ambiguity, but also saying that this person's the worst, and this is the
Mhm.
hero, and this is the villain. Because if the movie did its job well, we could be having a discussion about whether this chick was crazy.
Yeah, which is I promise you that's the discussion I wanted to have. That's the discussion I thought we were going to be having by the end of this movie. It's
Right.
not,
It's not.
and she's not.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
not because they did everything to make her look like she was. Most of the time, that means that person's not crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Real life people included. Um,
Let's see. I got another one from Corey here. This
yeah.
says this one seems to really lean into the family pregnancy equals horror thing. It
Mm,
absolutely does. And that's getting into modern Malthusianism population. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Right. The little ice age that'll be coming by 1980 or whatever. Yeah. Malthus is an interesting guy.
mhm.
Um, but
Oh,
yeah, then let's see here. I've been lately trying to convince people that children used to be celebrated and wanted and not a burden.
good point.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. And I think that it's a very cynical sort of view that you don't necessarily, like, yeah, it's ironic that it's written by guys too,
Hmm.
because it almost feels like an interpretation of what an ally would
Hmm.
interpret the position a woman would take, and it's like
Right.
it just doesn't feel like that at all.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
I do think
there's
there
one.
are some positions and ideas that will make women even probably cheer for this movie. If I'm honest, this movie struck me as, if this were a Lifetime movie, I might even feel differently about it.
Right,
Like I
right.
might actually put it higher in rating if it was just a Lifetime movie. I'd probably be like, "Yo, that might be one of the best Lifetime movies I've ever seen," because a
Yeah,
lot of the undertones and connotations would have already been assumed.
yeah.
Shit,
If
if
this
this was
was
a
a
Lifetime movie, we'd have
telenovela,
assumed Ben was beating her ass.
this would make sense as a telenovela.
Ooh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, as like a soap opera, sure. This absolutely makes sense as a soap opera. A cheap storyline that's been worn out to death.
Hmm.
That is good for a couple twists and turns, and then
Shit,
yeah,
they should have let Tyler Perry get his hands on this. He could have gave it some fresh legs.
yeah,
Like, and I'm not even being funny right now. Like, I'm really thinking if he were to spin this story, that'd probably be the first one
maybe,
of his movies I watched in the last few years. Not even saying he's put out anything bad. I think I've seen so many of his movies. I'm like, I kind of know what's going to happen. I'm good.
yeah,
Um, look, at the same time, go watch that thing. But yeah. So we already know she drove into a flock of birds, crashed. She had the baby. The baby was stolen from her, and we don't even know what happens to her. She
she's
gets
just
locked
being
into a
kept
hospital
in a
room.
ward.
Yeah, she gets locked in the hospital room, told that her baby isn't, she's not fit to raise her own child by protective services. because of her medical records and because she got into a car accident. And I'm like, well, what's in her medical records? Once again, that's unexplained. She's not even told what's in her medical records. And that was around the time when, again, it kind of clicked. Like, they don't explain shit to her. And it was like, oh, yep, that goes back to what I was thinking earlier. And I just wrote it down again, like medical industry. They're not explaining shit to them. Or the
You know what?
assumptions and shit.
How about this? And I'm going to keep our channel safe when I make this reference, but maybe a brave soul out there would like to talk about some of the issues with the medical community over the last few years.
Mhm.
Maybe a brave soul would like to address that in a movie at some point. We'll see. I'm
You
not
know
going to
what?
hold my breath.
That's kind of the one of the biggest issues that I do feel like we have, and maybe we haven't found the right way to articulate it too.
Mm.
Excuse me. And that is, if you're gonna tell us something that's deep and social, or you're gonna do some level of a documentary about something that we need to be socially aware about, just do the damn documentary. We'll watch it.
Right.
But when you try to throw it into,
But also, social commentary comes from the grassroots. It doesn't come from the Hollywood. You
yeah,
know what I
fair.
mean? Like Hollywood is a vaulted ivory tower of rich people,
Mhm.
and so like
Sitting
it's
in your ivory tower telling me what's going on down here in the mud.
exactly like it's very strange that we allowed them to just like dictate what is socially acceptable when they have no connection to us anymore. And so when real social stuff happens, it's usually on the street level. It's usually people who are making art, on their own, and have like an indie movie or a record or something like that they're trying to do.
Right.
You know.
It's the trope of a comedian, in my opinion. Someone who jumps off the page to me in that thought. And of course, in my mind, I want to say Andrew Schultz just because of or like Theo Vaughn, but I'm gonna go even further over. Steven Crowder, right?
Hmm.
He does his celebrity thing, or his no, he works. He has a job. He just happens to be in front of a camera, and we see him often. And he has passion for what he does. But he'll also get on foot and get out there and get in front of the people.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with him, you have to understand he's real about, like, he's passionate about the things that he's out here and he's saying that are actually coming out of his mouth. So either you agree with him, you believe with him, or you don't. But I actually would pay attention to what's coming out of his mouth because there's a level of honesty and truth behind it from his side.
Well, also, at least there will likely be somebody on the street level that is talking as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Instead of this like echo chamber of rich millionaires that think that this is what we want as audience members. Which is, it's just not. Most of us don't want this stuff. We want to watch a really cool story. We want to see something we haven't seen before. We want to be moved by good acting.
Mhm.
I mean, like, if I wanted social commentary, I'll watch The View. I don't. So I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
I was actually about to say, is that what they do on The View? And then I realized, like,
oh yeah, I mean, that's all they do is just yabber on about social problems, but like
I
not
mean, I
well,
never really
obviously, but
understood. I never really watched it to understand, honestly. I've had people
yeah.
tell me like, "Oh, they cover like news topics," and I was so confused. Like, is there a
I
news show
mean, as
now?
much as any of them could ever cover anything, yes, that's what they
Oh,
do.
I guess.
um,
Again, not knocking it. Just when you're not when I'm not familiar, I ask questions because I'll be like, "Did I not understand what that was about?" And I honestly, I realized recently, I don't think I ever understood what The View was until I actually started asking, "What's The View?"
yeah, and you probably still won't know, to be
It's still
honest.
kind of like, yeah, still.
Yeah, no, I just think that there are a lot of issues with storytelling and this I don't know, just unoriginal.
And that's really, this movie is a compilation of a few stories that have been told in different ways and trying to put them together. As Corey alluded to earlier, just taking all of these different things and elements and trying to throw them all together, and you kind of fall short.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, essentially, this paper plane had a heavy nose and it crashed and burned. With that being said, I mean, there's not really much to reflect on or to go back like, oh, these things they did. I thought it would have been dope if she had a stabbed Margaret when she had the knife. But
Yeah, she was just
hey,
like, come here real quick. I
come
got to
here real
tell
quick.
you something.
Close. Come closer.
Closer,
Closer.
closer.
Closer. And then Margaret, I have no interest in
Yeah,
anything else.
even Margaret's ass was like, no, I'm good.
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
good.
walk out.
Right. Look, you already been known to attack me. Hold
Right.
up. Um, which also to me, after you going all the way back to the beginning, just to say why none of this should have ever happened. Ben died. You were told in the middle of a hallway. She said it was your fault. You attacked her. Why did you wake up in her house again?
For real.
That's where the movie should have ended.
It's exactly where the movie should have
Should have been a
ended.
quick episode called Kindred.
Right.
Kindred,
Right.
episode 1. Ben dies.
Hmm. The end. The
Legitimately.
end.
You know,
Hmm.
what, 26 minutes, 28 minutes to that point. So yeah.
I mean, also, you know that like the implications of this movie is that she would have had that procedure done had she would have been let out of the house.
Oh yeah, she would have, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
I think they would have went to Australia and that's what would have happened either way. Nope, not reading that.
Big Mike's trying to get us canceled even when he's not on the show. That is our boy right there. We love you, man.
I love you, man.
We don't disagree with you,
Not at
but
all.
you know.
And mind you, I don't disagree with you from the guys of I know it exists, but I ain't really ever sitting popcorn in the mouth. Popcorn never been me.
No.
Actually, I don't even know when does it. This is a morning show, isn't it?
Oh, who knows? I just know that it's on when somebody says something stupid. That's the only time I ever am aware of it.
My bad. I just realized that too. I actually don't know when that show comes on. I know I think it's a daily thing, but I don't know what time or how. Anyway,
Not
doing
important.
too much, even trying to figure it out. It actually makes me, to me, it makes me sound even worse. The fact that I'm thinking about it and I know I don't know. But all of that
Ratings.
being said, yeah, I'm about to say let's get to these ratings because we can't talk anymore about medical records or Margaret. The only person that should be left alive by the end of this movie, because of the way everything plays out, is the baby and Thomas. Margaret and Charlotte shouldn't have made it to the end of the movie. It just is what it is.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't even going to make it to the end of this movie, so I get it.
Well played.
I get it. Yeah.
All right, let's get into these ratings. Final review for me. I didn't dislike this movie. There's a lot of I'm gonna run with how Nick pushed dramatic elements that will make you think. But because they don't tie them up and they don't give you anything to correlate with them, it leaves it a little hard to say that as a movie, as a film, that this was good. My rating is, man, I can't say I wasn't entertained because to a level I was until I was confused, and then that just kind of made me sad inside because I was trying to figure out what I was excited about, like what I was entertained by. I'm gonna give this a 5. I'm gonna give this a 5. Could have been better, could have been worse, but definitely could have been better. Without question, could have been better, and I expected it to be. So I'm gonna leave it at a 5.
I see your 5, and I strategically rate this a 1.
I get you
because I honestly I can see where maybe you're very charitable with stuff, and you try to give things a benefit of the doubt, which I appreciate about you. I am not so much that way sometimes, so I really didn't like this. I think that it was kind of insulting. No, it's not kind of insulting. It's very insulting to anybody who has above average intelligence or average intelligence. I mean, I don't even know if that's even accurate because I'm not sure who this wouldn't insult at this point. It really does insult the intelligence and Lifetime, maybe. Yeah, I guess.
I don't mean that as an insult.
And I'm not trying to knock nanas out there who watch Lifetime. I get that. And I'm not trying to call myself big brain or anything like that. I just felt like it was really kind of like, you could predict everything that was going to happen. I knew all of the sort of messaging that was going to take place. I knew, like, I don't know, man. If you're gonna do something like that, like just make it surprising, I guess. And I could give you a little bit more credit. But at this point, this just pandering ideas about race and motherhood and children and racism, like and identity, and you want to talk about all of these things in an hour and 30 minutes, and you give them absolutely no substance.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this a million times before, where again, you're trying to tackle really, really like deep ideas, but you're doing it on such a surface level that it almost feels like you're insulting the entire concept.
Right.
So yeah, for that reason, I got to give it a 1. I just did not enjoy this in the least bit.
Understandable. And again, I understand how and why you didn't enjoy it. I really feel like you made a perfect point to it.
I think that anybody who's not like, they're like, okay, yeah, anybody who's not from Idiocracy will find issues with this
Right.
movie. Yeah, it just may be a varying level of issues. That's for sure.
No, fair enough. Well, with that being said, I think that brings us to about a 4-1, maybe a 4-2.
You had a 5, and it was
Five
so,
and
so
one.
we're at a 3.
3. Okay. I'm like, I know it brings us down,
Mm-hmm.
but that is intended. And again, as you said, as I said, it's not the greatest movie. It's not the worst movie. It's funny because you gave it a 1, and I'm sure that some people in hindsight would be like, "Dang, so it's like Empty Man level." But it's like, no. If I had given it like a 3, you probably would have given it a 3, and we just would have
Yeah.
balanced it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for me, like I said, I do feel like the skeleton on this has like, and you said the same. Like there are some things that could be taken. Like at a deeper look, we'll find out how far they can go.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, I'm not gonna say that this is like, man, yo, you seen that Kindred? You got to go check that one out.
It's like
But I would love to hear someone else's like opinion of the movie. Like here, like, hey, so what did you get out of it?
yeah, but it's like expecting a third grader to be able to write a Shakespearean verse. You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to tackle topics that are so nuanced and complex, and then you just have these two dudes that have never really done anything before. They're like, we'll take a stab at it. It's like, okay,
I do it.
thanks for your contribution to the discussion, I guess. I don't know.
Who wants to make this really socially aware movie that's not socially aware, and we're not going to give you any direction on it?
Yeah. Us. Ooh, come on.
And in their defense, I can't say that given that opportunity by the right, call it what it is, handler, that I probably wouldn't take a swing at it too. You never, if it's opening the right doors and not compromising what you believe is your art, because some people would not feel like, that's outside of their purview. And yes, Corey, yes, to see the word horror. Oh, sorry. Before I didn't even.
Yeah,
read
there we go.
So it's old money, white evil that force a miserable horror ordeal of a
medically
questionable pregnancy, 1,000% questionable, on a black mother, and she's left bereft or bereaved. I think it's bereaved and traumatized at the end. Yeah, I might watch it.
Yeah.
Just to see the horror of the attempted message. Because yes, thank you. Yes. Corey understands what I was saying about horror. Like, I don't know if it's horror, but it's horrible. Like the way they're trying to get these messages across.
Right. Right.
And yeah, and that's what I mean, Corey, is I am almost willing to like, hey, what was your opinion of this thing here? Because I know what I saw, but I would like to know how other people view it. But it's not hidden. I don't think a lot of the messaging is hidden. I don't think it's hard to understand, especially if you hear the way that these particular things are talked about socially.
It's as bad as subtle as a horse hoof to the face. How about that?
No nuance.
No nuance.
Jesus, that was I'll say that was the comment made in the room when that happened. That's not the way that is not the way Ben goes. This is my face. You think this is going to get more complex? That's definitely how this is about to go down.
Yeah. He died like he was a character in Oregon Trail, kicked in the head by a horse.
Shit. Not the Oregon Trail. Dang, Oregon
Yeah.
Trails, Nick. All right, if we're going that far back, I'm just going. I get it. We done here.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for some more of these gems because it's always fun to see
Yeah.
what the offerings are. That's for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't looking for a bad movie this time. I thought this was gonna be a great movie. It's decent, but it's not
You
great.
can't help
It's
it
really,
though.
really good.
It's like that's the thing is, yeah, you want to give things the benefit of the doubt, but I think that we just kind of, we know, and
Mhm,
we allow ourselves to be hurt over and over again, and that's fine.
mhm, mhm,
Because
mhm, mhm.
maybe
A
someday
thousand
we'll find
lashes.
something good.
1,000 lashes before you learn your lessons.
I mean, we're almost at like 1,000 hours of
For sure.
bad stuff, so we'll find something good eventually.
Wait, you didn't like Eraser?
Eraser. Which one was that?
The
Oh, that
very
was
first.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for Schwarzenegger
that was our
and
first episode. Holy shit, I
that
forgot.
wasn't Vivica Fox. Her name is Green. That's not Holly Robinson Pete, or maybe it was Holly Robinson Pete. I think it was Holly. Anyway,
Mm.
I can't. I'm trying to remember who was the co-star in Eraser.
Oh shit, I can. Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that. That was our first episode. Holy moly,
Hmm.
forgot about that. Yeah, that I mean, but those see, this is the problem, right? Because there is such a bad that it is good. And I think that we
Yeah,
both came to the conclusion that Eraser is so bad that it's
that
good.
it's good. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Vanessa Williams is who that was, and I
Vanessa
can't. I
Williams.
never remember which came out first, Eraser or Total Recall. But I
Or
feel
True
like one of
Lies, because they all came around the same.
exactly,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I think they were all kind of playing off of that, and just like, oh,
yeah,
we can get Arnold too. Come on.
yeah. Everybody wanted Arnold. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Corey says we got to watch out for thunderstorms on the trail. Oh yeah, okay. Oregon Trail. Yeah, don't die of dysentery, right? Yeah. Well, I don't know if I just got my internet booted or Keelan just got booted, but it looks like Keelan might have just been booted from the episode, guys. I think. Keelan, if you're there, can you give us any sign that you're alive? Oh, and it's just as he said that, he messaged me. That was pretty cool. He says he'll be back in 30 seconds. Yeah, so Keelan rage quit on us, and we're trying to wrap this up. So I guess I'll have to wait for him. He says he's going to be back because he's going to be wrapping this. So, and I refuse to pull this window down because then I will be the only thing on the screen, and I can't do that. So I'd rather have this. Uh, I'd rather have this black screen than. Oh, see, this is exactly what I didn't want, and this is horrifying. So great. Now I got to wait for Keelan to come back before I do anything else. I'm going to put this overlay up so you don't have to stare at my face. How about that? You can stare at her face. It's probably better. Thank God. Keelan, you're back. You know how bad that was? I had to listen. I had to see myself on the screen. Dude,
Sorry about that.
that
So
was awful.
I just have to share with the audience, with the guys and ladies out here who come and listen to us regularly. Um, be very cautious that you might not know that you have a loose outlet, and now you have to go to the hardware store and figure out how to fix that problem.
Yeah.
Or call your landlord. But either way,
Yeah, we're running on some makeshift rigs over here. So yeah, we got all sorts of issues. Um, Thanks, Keelan, for traumatizing me and for having I had to have my face on this damn show by myself for a
now
second.
you know what you look like.
Yeah, that's not fun. Yeah, so let's end this.
Indeed, indeed. So I'm not sure what Nick said when I was gone. I do know that he did a great job of letting you know how he felt about this movie. I can guess it was somewhere along the lines of hated it, somewhere
Hated
along those
it.
lines.
Yeah.
But no, definitely, we appreciate you guys for coming to check out the review of Kindred with us. It was enjoyable to an extent, but it could have been a lot more enjoyable. And we typically want it to be, if I'm being honest. We didn't start doing this with the intention of destruction and destructive commentary. However, we will not stray from it. If you give us explosives, we will light the fuse. Your fault, not ours. So thank you guys for coming to check out the review of Kindred. By all means, it's Wednesday. So you're right smack dab in the middle of the week. There's all kind of content around you. And there's more content coming to you for the rest of the week. So here you are on Wednesday and you're watching the Screen Time Continuum. You're going to head on over to Twitch tomorrow on Thursday. You're going to check out Dejan. He's on Strawberries and Coffee. Fridays, you're going to check out, Fridays, you're going to check out the Exofathom. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to Strawberries and Coffee is on around 10:30 p.m. for you guys on Tuesdays and Thursday. Also check out his archive in YouTube. The Exofathom is available for you on Fridays at 8 p.m. They're available on Facebook, YouTube, Verbal, Rumble, Spotify.
No.
Oh,
any particular reason. Just
right. I think I'm always well
to
wishing you guys into Spotify. Yeah. You're not there.
That's all right.
Hey, I got your back though. After you're done on Fridays, you're gonna head on over on Saturdays to check out This Married Moment. This Married Moment is available as well on Facebook and YouTube for you, as well as Spotify. Sundays, you're gonna come right back here to the Screen Time Continuum at 8:30 p.m. Mondays, you get an off day. See, I even gave you a pause for the off day. And then Tuesdays, you're right back to If Numbers Could Talk. And then Wednesday, you're here again, Screen Time Continuum, because we're always going to be here for you, giving you great things to hear about, talk about, laugh about, cry about, and or question why, like we did this evening. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. For the Screen Time Continuum, I am Keelan.
I'm Nick. Shout out to Big Mike and Corey for stopping by. We really appreciate your comments. Always a pleasure to hear from you guys. Thanks again, Corey, for your interactions. Thanks again, Big Mike. We appreciate y'all. Have a great night.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one. Later. Still don't know why this is called Kindred.
I don't know either.